We're going to call back into order the special city commission meeting of November 16, 2020 at 10 a.m., the 10 a.m. meeting. You recognize, Commissioner, you want to say?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I may suggest, Chairman, for the remaining part of this meeting and for meetings from now on, even though you won't be here, maybe we could set the agenda of how we want things done, the protocol rather. We want people to keep their mask on, even when they come up here. I know for us in particular it's difficult because we're here the whole time, but we do want people to keep their mask on. As you know, minute as it might seem, someone takes their mask off, you never know, and that's how we spread it more. So if we could just inform everyone that they got to keep their mask on while they're here. Obviously, it's up to the commission if the majority of you feel otherwise.
I want to add, Commissioner Rosals, you're going to bring a pocket item next meeting so we can keep on doing it virtual? Okay, sir.
But in the meantime, what I'm talking about is...
No, in the meantime, I agree with you. I agree with you.
We try to keep everybody
Yes,
as
sir.
protective as we can, including ourselves.
Yes. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, if we could also have somebody clean off the lectern between uses.
Yep.
I noticed a lot of people readjusting the microphone and touching, and physical contact could be a transmission vector. So.
Do you have anybody from staff that could take care of that? Wonderful.
Yeah, we could have someone from staff be around so that after everyone uses the microphone, they could clean it as best they can before the next person comes.
Okay. All right, so let's get into the action. We've had public comment regarding this 10 a.m. agenda. At this time, what I'd like to do is recognize our city manager so that we can have the presentation of his item, his recommendation. From there, after the recommendation has been made, I will allow 15 minutes for whomever is not recommended to present. And then whomever, after that passes, whomever was recommended will have 15 minutes to present. And then we'll have our further discussion from the board and hopefully come up with some sort of action. Mr. Manager, recognized.
Good afternoon, everyone. As I've briefed each of you individually, as we've been kind of pulling this process along, this is a process that to this date has gone on for almost 6 years in total when you sort of factor in all of the various iterations of the RFP process to try to come to a sort of bigger, better project on that particular piece or city asset. The current process, obviously, has been really in play for the last more or less 3 years. It obviously has gone through the full solicitation process, a ranking, a scoring. There's been an appeal. There's been various court rulings on those appeals. And then it's been before this body and been deferred now at this point in time 13 times. I think when you look at what's in the best interest of the city going forward, has this process been perfect? No. Are there warts in this process? Absolutely. But having reviewed this entire timeline, having reviewed the process, the responsibility reviews, I concur with the recommendation that's proffered by the selection committee of the number one respondent. And I think that going forward, what's in the best interest of the city is to move this project now and not to kick the can anymore in terms of deferrals, and certainly not to restart the process wouldn't be the ideal position, I think, for the city, just in the parlance of a new developed site, as well as the long-term, medium and long-term financial goals of the city. that's my recommendation, and I'll,
Okay, so what I'll do now is I'll allow the entity that did not get the recommendation, allow you to present first. You have 15 minutes.
Thank you.
Ever since
Excuse me, guys. Good afternoon. Abad Melwani here on behalf of Biscayne Marine Partners. We thank you for calling this special meeting today in the hopes that we may achieve a collective win for the city and its residents. Our team very much appreciates the careful thought and deliberation that this commission, administration, and staff have put into this process. Before I continue, I invite you to enjoy this video, which offers a glimpse of who we are and what this beautiful community and what this particular location means to us. Oh. Hit play.
Ever since 1983, a family has been a faithful steward of the jewel of Miami's waterfront, providing a place for lovers of boating, fishing, and water sports to enjoy the area's greatest treasure, Biscayne Bay. And they've worked hard to make the Rickenbacker Marina a success for the city of Miami. Abad Malwani and his family have done everything the city has asked of them. Built a quality marina for the boating community, lived up to their financial obligations with the city, beyond expectation. And on top of that, they've been active participants in the protection of the environment and the bay.
It's important to have people in the community like Abad who care about the environment. He made an effort to be more environmentally conscious, and we worked with him in helping him find the right vendors and making sure that they could be plastic free.
I think because of where it's situated right here on Biscayne Bay, you know, it really requires somebody who has that passion, that love of the area to be invested in protecting it. We always say you protect what you love, and so I think that's Abad in a nutshell.
Abad and his family have been a part of this community in so many ways and have helped throughout the city.
I met Abad at City Hall right after Hurricane Irma. What happened was he walked up to me and he said, "You need ice?" I said, "Yes, I have a whole community that needs ice." He said, "Come on, let's go." So we hit West Grove. We went on every street in West Grove. We did ice in Overtown, in Alapata. Basically, everywhere that I knew there was a need for ice, I could contact him and tell him. And it wasn't only that day. He did it whenever I called. I think it's a big deal that he's a local guy because it means that regardless of what storm comes or goes, whether it be a life storm, a financial storm, an economic storm, a community storm, he's going to be there because he's a local and his heart is there.
And it is with great pride and anticipation that this family has assembled a world-class local Miami team to help them take the city's waterfront to new heights with the coming of Marina Park Miami. It stands for public access, recreation, and community, and that is what it's all about. Every aspect of its design and function is aimed at creating a park-like campus for passive and active recreation for boaters and non-boater alike. This will be the development of a world-class marina, but without forgetting that there must be a living shoreline with a canopy of native trees and restored mangroves. It will be a place where pedestrians can enjoy access to the water with ample public spaces, and where the community can have events and celebrations. Its design and scale are balanced to avoid overwhelming the property. There will be right-sized, beautifully designed LEED Gold certified structures surrounded by green space. Our team knows what the boaters here want and need. Our staff works with them every day.
He knows what the customer needs and what the customer wants and how to make the customer's life easy when you go on a boat. You call, by the time I get from Key Biscayne from my house from Key Biscayne to here, the boat is already on the water. Living in Key Biscayne for more than 30 years, I've seen them grow. I've seen them really how they handle and again, the community is happy. Why are you making a change when you don't need to make a change?
boaters will find a state-of-the-art fully automated dry stack facility. A system that is proven to work, not a concept, but one that is in operation today and has been in operation for 4 years. There will be a completely redesigned wet slip facility with ample parking under the boat storage. Boaters will find multiple launch points, including a restored public boat launch into the Marine Stadium Basin, and dry and wet storage that reflects the needs of today's boaters and what will be coming in the future, including both floating and fixed piers with automated boat lifts. It will be among the most resilient and sustainable marinas in South Florida. And Marina Park, Miami, will be home for one of the finest boat builders in the nation.
We are the brand to the people that can have any boat they want, and they want an Intrepid. I look at that location as one that fits Intrepid well, but I also think that Intrepid fits that location well. And I want to be with people that do business the right way. I mean, it's important that the Intrepid brand and that name stays with people that are good people. When you're born and raised in that area and you have more heart in it, it means something to you. It's not just an investment, it's your life. It's the life of your family and the friends around you. And I think that's really important in a project like this.
The public will feel welcome here. There will be a gazebo, and a Ventanita-style cafe for cyclists, beachgoers, and pedestrians, a public pool, an elevated promenade, and even a civic exhibition space. There'll be a marine retail store, and a new cafe, and local seafood restaurant that will attract the public and the tourists.
With our family history, with the quality of seafood that we have, bringing it to this location, overlooking the city of Miami, it couldn't be a better place. We have our own fleet of boats that fish for us. We've been in this industry for over 40 years. We're true Miamians. Truthfully, Abad's been here for a very long time. He's put his heart and soul into this place because there has to be a passion, and I know his passion's there.
Local is what we are all about. Our water sports will be provided by TKS, sightseeing charter and water taxi services from Bayside provided by Island Queen Cruises, and our 2 local restaurant operators. No chains here. From design to construction to landscape planning, this local team has shown responsibility and a love for Miami because they live here. And they have proven that they know how to run a quality waterfront destination and can provide the best financial results for the city. Marina Park, Miami. We're ready to go.
Commissioners, we are ready to go. We've been ready to go. We're already there. We've been your faithful partner through hurricanes, economic downturns, and now a global pandemic. I offer you that we are tried and true. With us, there is no learning curve, and we will provide a seamless transition for the city. Our team has remained unchanged. Our qualifications and capabilities are well known. Now, onto the matter of award. You've been advised that the City of Miami Code gives us a menu of what the Commission may do pursuant to Chapter or Section 18-86, subsection 6. However, the City of Miami Code also gives us clear instruction on what the City Commission shall do with this award. Section 1886, subsection 7 states in relevant part, award shall be made to the responsive and responsible bidder whose proposal is most advantageous to the city, as determined by you, the City Commission. The City Commission, as our body of elected officials, is legally and rightfully capable of awarding to our team, Biscayne Marine Partners. You are empowered by your charter, your code, and the RFP itself. Why? Because it has always been sound public policy to empower you, our elected officials, to select the proposal that it deems most advantageous to the city. In other words, the proposal from which your constituents will derive the most benefit. I would respectfully ask this commission to make its decision based on who is providing the most value to the city and its residents, especially in these uncertain times. In terms of value attributed to the city-owned property, we are making a vastly greater capital investment of $113 million as opposed to the only $80 million provided by the other team. A $33 million difference on this singularly important property. We are oceans apart. We have provided proof of liquidity that far exceeds the equity commitment needed for this project. We've provided real banking commitments that further evidence our financial capability to deliver. Additionally, we've demonstrated a track record of servicing debt far greater amounts than what is contemplated in the current project. We recently provided the city with updated proof of liquidity letters at the request of Commissioner Diaz de la Portilla. 3 years have elapsed since all proposals were tendered, so that was very astute of him to instruct the administration to obtain these updates. Our team is comprised of one of South Florida's most prolific and respected real estate developers, a local veteran marina operator, and a well-capitalized equity partners. Our development team is almost entirely locally based and globally acclaimed. We are the only team standing before you today that actually has developed and is currently running an automated boat storage facility, and have been for the last 6 years, well before this procurement was issued, and this is an undisputed fact. We are the only responsible bidder before you. And should this commission award to us, we are ready, willing, and able to defend and indemnify the city against any frivolous legal action brought before you and hold you entirely harmless. It is simply in the city's best interest to award us. We stand before you offering certainty and familiarity. There is a very current, real, and practical benefit in awarding to us. During these uncertain times, we are the only team that has been and will continue to provide you with financial certainty. Remember that even upon award today, the earliest that the other team could take possession of the subject property would be November 2021, only after a successful referendum vote. Upon award to us, on the other hand, as the city's incumbent operator already on site, we would continue making the payments that exceed the rent contemplated in the RFP, even prior to executing a new lease with the city. As a matter of fact, we already have been for the last 2 years via our voluntary rent supplements of $100,000 monthly. Upon award, Rickenbacker Marina, as principal of Biscayne Marine Partners, could immediately execute a month-to-month revocable license agreement with the city for the operation of the adjacent Marine Stadium Marina, which has been underperforming for years and is already a part of the project site. Over the next 12 months, Rickenbacker will prepay the city $100,000 monthly as the license fee, thus securing our performance under the license agreement. Right off the bat, the city would be receiving $2.4 million in annual rent, an amount which far exceeds the contemplated rent in our competitor's proposal. The $2.4 million is comprised of the $1.2 million in annual rent from Rickenbacker, coupled with the $1.2 million in annualized license fee for Marine Stadium Marina. Additionally, at the end of each month, just as RMI and the city have been accustomed to for decades under our current lease, Rickenbacker could then remit 15% of the combined boat storage revenues to the city, in addition to the prepaid $100,000 monthly. On an annual basis, this would well exceed the $2.4 million in rent. Nearing the 12-month mark, ending November 2021, together we will have realized the true revenue potential of the consolidated marina operation contemplated in the RFP. It is at this point where the commissioner could direct the city manager to negotiate upward the rent in the new lease, well above what is contemplated in the RFP. Even in the unlikely event that award would fail at referendum or a lawsuit was lobbed from the other team, we would continue to make these payments. Only we can offer this financial certainty, and again, we will continue to defend and indemnify and defend and hold the city harmless. Now, this administration and staff has stated a number of times that they believe that both proposers to be responsible, capable, and thus eligible for award. If we can all accept this to be true, the only question that remains to be answered is whose proposal is most advantageous to the city as determined by you, our estimable city commission. Respectfully, commissioners, it is ours, Biscayne Marine Partners. Thank you very much. I stand ready to answer any questions along with the help of my counsel. Thank you again for this opportunity.
Thank you very much, sir. I'm going to allow
Sure.
the next group to present.
Commissioner Carollo, do you mind if I take off my mask, or would you prefer I keep it on?
I-
Whatever you prefer.
I really do. I mean, they didn't take it down.
Yeah, whatever you prefer. Okay. I'm good. Before I get started on my 15 minutes, let me first say, on behalf of our law firm, I want to congratulate each of you who've won re-election. And Commissioner, I want to congratulate you on your election to the upper chamber. You all have described it previously. I look forward to seeing you there at the upper chamber. First, Al Dodson of Bills and Sunberg, 1450 Brickell Avenue. I'm going to give us a history lesson first and then bring us current. It was 43 years ago, the last time this city commission actually awarded a contract for the operation and maintenance of that marina. It was to expire in 2009. On December 11th, 2008, the lease was amended with the term ending on July 7th, 2016, based on a promise, I'll come back to the promises you just heard, that the current operator would contribute $2 million towards the construction of a parking facility, and the current operator would make certain capital improvements by March 31st, 2011. As we sit here today, as I stand here today, as you sit here today, that still has not happened. In fact, what did happen is that the current operator sued the city, and the litigation pursued for 2.5 years. The parties settled that lawsuit in September 2015, declaring the current operator a holdover tenant, and the city lost $1.5 million because the current operator did not pay the $2 million they promised in that agreement that led to that extension. On June 15, 2015, the city began and issued the current RFP. The evaluation committee evaluated the responses, and the current operator was ranked last out of all respondents. The evaluation committee saw the presentations that you see here today, and they were ranked last. And our client, Virginia Key, was ranked first. The current operator filed a bid protest, which this commission heard, and they lost that bid protest. The city commission then decided to do a few things. Among them, they engaged CBRE, a Fortune 500 company with over 100,000 employees and have been around for 114 years, with a division dedicated to marine services to determine whether the city should operate the marina itself, what are the risks, and what return should they expect. On October 20th, 2016, CBRE issued a 75-page report and concluded the city should not take over the operation of the marina because it cannot generate the revenue projected. The city doesn't have $70 to $80 million to invest, and it would create liability for the city because of the unknown cost of seagrass mitigation and cost overruns. But the city didn't stop there. They then hired Lambert Advisory, based here in Miami, but is advised on waterfront properties from South Florida to Texas, from South America to Malaysia, to review the CBRE report and findings and poke holes in it. Lambert Advisory agreed with CBRE, citing the city's same risk and issues noted in the CBRE report. There were several committee meetings of the commission, the Virginia Key Advisory Board, the city's waterfront board, all to get public input. And then Chairman Ken Russell said on December 8th, 2016, and I quote, "We are here doing now with the Virginia Key Marina, what we are doing here now with the Virginia Key Marina is actually a really good process. And I know it's going to take a little bit longer, but it is more public and more thorough, and new ideas have come about." Then on February 9th, 2017, then Chairman Ken Russell said, and I quote, I'm very thankful for the administration for their patience over these past several months and their involvement with the public and us, the city commissioners, to bring back the RFP that we now have. It's not the same animal we had before. Over 100 recommended changes from the public, many of which we have taken into account in this new RFP. I am confident we can get this done. The future of Miami Marine Stadium depends on it. A week later, you issue the RFP. You had a new evaluation committee with a marina expert, an environmental expert, a financial expert, a member of the Virginia Key Advisory Board, a procurement expert, and yes, a member of Miami-Dade County DERM, Department of Environmental Resource Management. What happened? Our client was ranked first again. And then the lawsuit started. Just as the lawsuit that happened 7 years ago, that resulted in the city losing $1.5 million when the operator reneged on their commitment and promise to the city. They filed a bid protest against the city and lost. Filed an appeal in circuit court and lost. Asked the circuit court to review it again. It did, and they lost. And then they asked the Third District Court of Appeal to review it, and they lost. Not a single court has found anything wrong with this process or the selection of Virginia Key LLC, our client, for the second time. Then the deferrals started. Mr. Manager, there have actually been 16 deferrals in this process from beginning to end. 16. And it was Commissioner Carollo who said on September 13, 2018, and I quote, by deferring, nothing gets done. And here we are again. Now, what has happened during those 16 deferrals? You have an auditor's report that you have received that suggests that this operator, who's a part of that team, currently owes the city $155,660 in additional rent, late fees, and audit costs, and $506,022 in sales tax. Yes, the current operator has created liability for this city, and we've checked with the Department of Revenue, and they have confirmed that sales tax should have been paid in connection with that operation. Now, what else has happened during those 16 deferrals? Our principals have continued to build marinas. In fact, we built world-class marinas everywhere in this country, including here in Miami. One in Bridgeport, Connecticut, that 200-plus slips, and has hosted, during these 16 deferrals, 2 international boat shows. 2, and 1 during COVID, abiding by all of the CDC and government regulations. They've also completed the permitting on the city of Fort Lauderdale Marina. And we partner with our government. We partner with the government. We don't sue them. We partner with them. So why did the evaluation committee select us? The Virginia Key LLC principals have operated and developed successfully world-class projects all over the country, including multiple developments in Miami. And in fact, this city called on one of our principals, RCI, when you had a problem with Monty's. You had an operator that had rent that hadn't paid and taxes that hadn't paid. And who did you call to take over that asset? RCI Marina, to turn it into a world-class asset. Our clients have confirmed in writing that we have enough cash on hand to develop the entire project. Our team is local. We understand this community. David Filer, one of the principals of Suntech, lives in Miami-Dade County in the city of Miami. RCI is based in Miami-Dade County and has operated marinas within Miami. And our team that includes Architectonica, based here in Miami. All of our engineers based here in Miami. John Moriarty and Associates, Moffat and Nickel, SCS Engineers, all have offices here in Miami. Golden Boat Lifts and Garth Solutions all have offices here in Miami-Dade County. We are a local team. And we've also agreed, everything I'm telling you that we've agreed to in writing. We don't stand at a podium and make promises. Before you is an agreement that requires us to have a minimum of 40% of Miami-Dade County employees, 25% of City of Miami employees for construction, as well as 30% minority participation. In Fort Lauderdale, on Las Olas, in connection with the marina we're doing there, 90% of the employees reside in Fort Lauderdale. When we do a project in a city, in a community, we make that community number one. So what is our financial offer to the city? It's actually $1 billion over the term of this lease. And that's $265 million more than what was proposed by this operator. Now, they've tried to change their bid, and I'm sure your city attorney will tell you, you can't do that at this moment to try to take, once you find out what the other person bid, to change yours to try to make it better. If you ever want a process that completely undermines the public trust, then allow that to continue to happen, and you'll never get people to respond to RFPs. Now, with respect to the investment, our client is going to be making $80 million, $77 million of which is a hard cost. Now, the difference between our proposal and our investment is that we listened when then Chairman Ken Russell called on us to focus on the environment. Our proposal does not include the dredging of the entire basin. $15 million of their hard cost goes to dredging the entire basin. So our actual hard cost, when you compare apples to apples, we're actually investing more in this city. The rent uninterrupted during construction. Our proposal and in the signed lease, we're not interrupting our payments of rent to you during construction. What they proposed is they wanted an abatement, and they wanted a deferral for 10 years, about $6 million deferred in rent for 10 years from now. That's what they wanted to do during construction. And then the indemnification of the city, again, a promise, but we put it in writing. Section 8.4, page 31 of the lease, says that we will indemnify you against lawsuits. And why do we need to do that? Because we know that this particular proposer will sue you because they've sued you before. And more importantly, when you even mentioned you were going to kick them out for non-performance, they filed a lawsuit against you. You haven't heard about it, but they filed a lawsuit against you. The only one was brought to your attention after the city staff asked them that they dismiss it, so they could probably position themselves to get awarded. So we know they're going to file a lawsuit, and we're prepared to defend the city. Now, there's been a lot of things said about our client, but I'm going to go through two more things. First, not only are we ready and passionate about starting, we've already started. We've already done the due diligence related to that location to determine what we might have to do to fix it in order to start and identify 25 violations, including more vehicles there than are permitted by their permit. There are significant violations there. We've got the report here, but happy to show it to you. But you should vote based on the numbers. So you just remember, 43 years since you last awarded a contract, $1.5 million loss the first time around with this current operator, $155,660 in back rent, $506,022 in sales tax, $1 billion in rent from our client, $265 million more than their offer. 3 courts have said that the process was fine. The independent analysis of 2 consultants has determined the city should not take over operation of the marina. And there's only one proposer that's turned around city assets when you needed it. That's our client. Develop marinas during the 16 deferral delay. Views the city as a partner because there's been no lawsuits filed by us against any of our partners in the history of what we've been doing all around the country. And we've been called upon to turn around assets, and we'll do it again. There's one proposer that's filed, has a principal that's filed bankruptcy. There's one proposer that didn't disclose lawsuits filed against them. There's one proposer who has filed a lawsuit against the city, and that's not us. We're ready to start. We're ready to move forward. We're prepared to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you very much, sir.
Mr. Chairman,
You're recognized, sir.
there were some allegations made that they owe monies to the city, that they haven't paid taxes. I'm quite surprised in hearing that since, based upon my request some time ago, they've been paying an extra $100,000 to the city per month without having the benefit of the property that was supposed to be part of this lease, the dry dock next door. Plus, the city was gaining whatever amount of money in addition we were making in that dry dock storage. So if I may ask the administration, what is he talking about here? And then if we could give at least 4 or 5 minutes to the other side to respond on what is the real truth and the allegations that are being made here. I don't know if the administration is in agreement with that or not, but I'd certainly like to hear.
So the Auditor General has been engaged in an audit, issued a draft report. I don't think there's been a formal response yet to it. There has, okay. So the audit's not complete. I know they've addressed some issues. I'll let Abad sort of speak to it in terms of the current status. There are some outstanding issues. The sales tax issue is an outstanding issue. I don't think there's been a resolution to that either. So as far as I know, the audit has not been closed out. It's not a final product. But I'll let Abad speak to where he is in the response process and his communication with the Auditor General.
Okay, was that audit sent to everyone?
No, it's not complete. The only thing that was sent was a draft version, correct.
Okay, but the draft was sent to everyone.
I don't know who it was sent to. I'm not privy to who.
So I guess what I'm trying to find out is, how are they aware of that draft?
I have no idea.
Good question.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner Correa. That's a very good question. So if in fact this audit is still in draft form and thus exempt from public records, it's a mystery to me how counsel for the other team actually has this report, number one. Number two, in our communications with the auditor, it's been determined that for the audit period, which extends roughly 5 years, which accounts for over $40 million in revenue from Rickenbacker Marina, we only owe a total of $14,000 in what they consider slightly underreported rent and late fees on that actual rent. $14,000 out of a total of $40 million for this audit period in gross revenues.
Can you speak directly to the sales tax, though? Because the city manager...
I'm going to get into that. I'm trying to respond to these things categorically, but thank you, Mr. Chairman. Now, with respect to the sales tax, okay, our lease provides for the exemption on sales tax. So let me back up 1 second. We pay sales tax, we remit sales tax at what the Division of Revenue calls at the retail level. So with respect to rents, which are essentially subleases, now that includes subleasing of commercial property like the restaurant, for example, and subleasing of the slips and dry racks, we take those revenues and we remit the sales tax directly to the state. We've been audited more times than I can count by the city. We've been audited by the state. And this sales tax issue, because of the regular practice, because of the exclusions, because of our certificates, because of well-settled law, which allows us to remit sales tax directly to the state, this was never a question. Now, all of a sudden, in the midst of this RFP, this becomes part of the audit scope. Now, we've already obtained a letter from an attorney from the Division of Revenue, no less, stating that we're following the proper protocols and that there is no outstanding sales tax liability. Now, at the bottom of that letter, as in typical fashion, it says, there's a little disclaimer on there that says, now, this letter, even though it's drafted by an attorney for the DOR, says this letter is the opinion of the drafter and not necessarily of the state. Now, this is the best letter that we could get in the short time frame that we were afforded during this audit to provide that letter. But commissioners, I assure you, and I can forward you all of the documentation as backup, that our lease provides for this exclusion on sales tax, which the city has claimed owed to them. I mean, the sales tax is owed to the state, it's not owed to the city, okay? Our lease provides for that exemption, our certificates provide that exemption, the Florida Revenue Code provides for that exemption. I mean, we are doing exactly what we are supposed to do. Now, back to the difference in rent. If we were to continue to dispute the $14,000 that the city is saying we owed, it would cost me more money to dispute that claim than it is just to pay it out to you guys so we can continue on this process just as we are today. So in good faith, even though we had a long back and forth with the staff auditor, okay, who is a very nice lady who has an unenviable job of making sure that all their tenants pay money, we just said, look, we're going to pay for this, okay? And on top of that, the additional monies that are showed owed in this audit are basically audit fees that the city is charging us to conduct the audit. Now, that's unprecedented. You guys have an audit team, an auditor general that in the normal course of city business conducts these audits. This is the first time ever in the 37 years that we've been in business that we've been made to pay this. So rather than be painted as yet again, another feisty, litigious guy, I said, you know what, we're gonna pay this in good faith and let's move on. Out of $40 million that we've paid to you, or in revenues over the course of the audit period, if we're saying we only owe you $14,000, here you go, because it's gonna cost me more to dispute it than it would just to pay it. Okay, now the reason for that difference, which is in our actual response, is that we, as most businesses should, that report to the IRS, that report to the state, do all of our accounting on an accrual basis. When the auditor comes in and examines our general ledger and our statements and all those other things, they're applying the cash basis. So what happens is they come in and they get all of our deposits, whether those deposits are things to be reimbursed or deposits or things that are non-income items. They tally all of that up and then they start backing out little items which they believe are clearly not income. If you're looking at thousands upon thousands of transactions over the course of 5 years, totaling up to $40 million in revenue, you're gonna have discrepancies. As a matter of fact, when we equalize everything and put everything on an accrual basis, we actually overpaid rent. And I trust that you will ask this auditor for her work papers, which will demonstrate that that is in our communications and proven with our sound math. Now, if there's any other questions on that, I'd be delighted to answer those questions, but the fact of the matter is, we owe, arguably, $14,000 in rent and late fees. And that's $14,000 out of a total of $40 million in revenue over the course of the audit period, which is 5 years.
Is the way that you've always paid the sales tax in the fashion that you described, you paid it to the state?
Yes, sir. And it's been clearly delineated that way. We submit to you guys monthly rent reports. As you guys know, we pay our rent as a function of percentage of gross.
And in the 43 years that Counselor stated that you've been an operator for the city of Miami there, has the city claimed at any time until now that you had to pay it to the city instead of the state?
No, Commissioner. And that's what's most, kind of unusual about this whole situation. We've actually been in business for about 38 years now. There was an operator there, the original awardee of the lease, Marty Rabin, in 1977, was awarded the parcel. He partially developed it, and then it was my father who in 1983 came and brought the marina to where it was until I took over, and then so on and so forth. But this is, to answer your question, the first time in our marina's history that this sales tax question has been part of the audit scope. And I think it's because our lease has always been clear on it, our exemptions and certificates are clear on it, and the body of law on municipal taxation is abundantly clear on this, as stated by the attorney from the Division of Revenue who provided us that letter. Now, currently, a leather letter, which is a sworn letter, which was, again, asked for, again, as further proof of no delinquent tax liability, is being drafted as we speak. I don't have any control over the DOR. However, we will be following up with them to see if there's any way that they can expedite that.
Mr. Manager, anything you like to add to that?
The only thing I'll add is that the auditor sent the report, it looks like, on the 11th to each of you, so you should have a copy of it, a final version of the report. For your review, we can print some out so you have them. As you know, the auditor works directly for the commission, so any questions you have reference the report, certainly would encourage you to ask that office directly. We played no role in that audit, so.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you all.
Any discussion amongst the body? You're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's good to see both sides of this issue. I really would like to see us come to a resolution today. It's been a long time coming. My name was invoked a few times by council with regard to comments on the process. And yes, I did say those things in the first iteration of the RFP after it was thrown out and it was redone. I was very happy with that process. What I wasn't happy with were the scores that were returned and the manager's interpretation of those scores. So if you hear me out, what I intend to do here is to show you why I believe that the bidder with the highest score is actually not responsible here. And that it shouldn't, this commission has dealt with environmental issues for the last few years as a unit. And we have fought very hard to implement styrofoam issues, fertilizer issues, glyphosate, go after people who dump into the bay. And you hear all these broken pipe issues over the last couple of years in Broward County and Miami-Dade County, 1.5 million gallons of raw sewage put into the bay. The contractors that are working for the winning bidder's principals jumped over 30 million gallons of raw sewage into Biscayne Bay in the year 2000. And they did not disclose that in the first issuance of the RFP. To me, that spoke volumes to not only their responsibility, but their character and their forthrightedness in responding. When we reissued, we were more specific about that. And so yes, they did disclose that they had that history, that did happen. And if you study the scoring of all the different scores that were given, there was one category called Commitment to Protection of Environmental Assets and History of Environmental Stewardship. And for that category, you can award 0 or you can award a perfect score of 5. 3 of the judges gave them a perfect 5 in History of Environmental Stewardship, while one of their partners had the worst environmental damage ever done to our bay. I don't understand that. The other 5 scorers gave a score of 4, only took 1 point off. That's 35 points. I would have given them a 0. And anyone who's truly judging them based on their history of environmental stewardship should have as well. So I believe that there was irresponsible scoring in that. And I believe that the manager should have seen that in making the award as well, because all this history is very clear. CNN, Miami Herald, they all reported on this incident between 25 and 35 million gallons of raw sewage. And for that alone, I would make a motion to not grant the award to the recommendation of the manager. I would stop short there on what we do after that point. But my hope is to find consensus that this is not the responsible bidder. And if we do award to them, and this happens again, in their case, it was driving a piling through a 5-foot wide pipe, million gallons an hour. It's on us. It's on us. And our bay is in a very delicate position, and I think if we are making this decision and awarding this to a company, we need to know that 1, they're very honest about their history, and 2, that they have a good history. And I don't feel that either has happened in this case. So that would be my motion to not award to the manager's recommendation.
Mr. Chairman,
To reject.
Mr. Chair?
that's a
I'll let you
complete
respond, then I'll come
misstatement
with you.
of what took place, and I need to correct the record. Because what actually took place is that a subcontractor of a contractor hit a pipe that no one knew where it was, there were no easements anywhere, and in fact, Durham determined that because my client was responsible and acted quickly, there was no damage to the city of Miami, no damage to the city of Miami Beach, and the water quality after we finished was actually better than before we started. That's number one. Number two, we are prepared with respect to this environmental issue. We're prepared to have the city hire whoever they want to hire to oversee our work on our dime. If you really believe we're not responsible, then do that. Because everybody who's looked at this has determined we're not at fault. More importantly, on your evaluation committees, you go down all those scores, the one person who gave us a 4 out of 5 was actually part of Durham, was very well aware of this. This was not a secret. Our role in being responsible and good stewards in how we responded was actually lauded. So I want to make sure it's crystal clear. We did not do it, but as soon as we heard that it took place, we immediately responded. It was determined that no one could have located that pipe because the easement had never been recorded. Those are the facts. Those are the facts.
Mr.
That the
Chairman.
water quality actually ended up better as a result of the work we did.
Mr. Chairman? Thank you. I mean, if we're talking about cleaning up sewage, I'm going to need a shovel in here because that was we got a mess to clean up. To say that the water was cleaner after 35 million gallons of raw sewage, there were more than 1 4 that you got on the scores. There were 5 number 4 scores. And that one that you mentioned was Alice Robertson, who was the assistant director of Durham
No,
at the time.
no.
Alice Robertson was assistant director of Durham at the time, in 2000, and she was quoted in multiple news agencies on the incident itself, talking to the lack of responsibility that happened in that moment, with permitting, with who was responsible, who was, at the end of the day, whether the subcontractor, the contractor, or the principal, the buck's got to stop with somebody. And not to have even admitted to the incident in the first issuance of the RFP is one, but two, to really analyze it, which I have on my own. Each, in the moment of scoring, they have to listen to the spin of both sides and make a score, and everybody scored within 4s and 5s.
Mr. Chairman?
I've had the time to study this, the news articles, the scoring, and everything, and that's my opinion of this situation.
Mr. Chairman?
I have Commissioner Reyes, and then I'll come back to you.
But if I could, because I want to put some order here.
Oh, that's fine.
If every time one of us is going to say something that either side doesn't like, they're going to be jumping up and answering us, this is not going to work too well.
I don't intend for that to happen.
Well, it happened already, so I just don't want it to happen again.
But also, the accusation was made on one side.
Yeah, but that was different. That was from one of them in their presentations. I'm talking about us up here now, talking. Now, if we want, we'll leave 5 minutes at the end when we all talk, that either side could address anything we said in 5 minutes, but this jumping in every time any one of us says anything, this ain't gonna work. And if this is the way we're gonna conduct it, then I'm gonna make a quick motion, and we'll end this real quick.
Commissioner Reyes?
Make your motion. Go right ahead.
Well, I'm trying to be as balanced as I can, Commissioner, in trying to put some rules in how we're gonna proceed.
But at the end of the day, if no one's ready, so we have discussion to prepare us for a motion. Or you have a motion and we have discussion on that motion. Either way works, as long as we're getting to some action.
Okay.
I think we have a motion on the table, though. I think Commissioner.
He made a motion, but I didn't get a second.
No one seconded that.
What was the motion, Commissioner?
To reject.
To reject, but not give further direction on what to do about the award from that point. I was going to leave that part open, but at the very least, to reject the manager's proposal.
I will second that motion, and after Commissioner Reyes speaks, if Commissioner Diaz-Libertia would like to, I'll go into some additional reasons why I'm seconding the motion.
Okay. I guess not everybody knows the way I feel about this. I never liked it since we inherited. Most of us that are here, you inherited, I inherited, Commissioner Caroy inherited. we inherited, I know, that's why I take off my mask. I have a deep accent, and with this mask on, I mean, it gets multiplied. So it's going to be difficult for you, Commissioner, Senator, to understand me. But well, I'll do my best. Listen, I wasn't happy, and I'm not happy with what happened. You see, I read about what Commissioner Russell was referring, and that was RCI, if I'm not mistaken, a company by RCI. Also, in awarding this RFP to Virginia Key LLC, there were different subcontractors that were also influential in the scoring, you see? And that's the way it should be. Because if I am going to present a proposal, and that proposal is going to be scored based on the total project, including the people that are going to be subcontracting, and then we find that among those contractors, and let me tell you this, I don't have anything against anybody here, or in favor. I know that we have to do something today because this has to end. This has to end, okay? Now, I found that a company by the name of Shoreline Foundation was convicted last year of a felony for defrauding the U.S. Coast Guard. That disqualified that company. And we don't know what will be the grading of the company that you're going to bring in and how much effect was it. You see? That's why I have been promoting for a long time that we follow what Commissioner Russell said. We deny the award, but we go further and do everything that is possible for the city to take over the marina and start all over again from a clean slate. Maybe we can do it better, or maybe we cannot. But we'd start all over again. But that is my position, and that's going to be my position. Because I don't believe that anything is clear here. I think there is a fault on both sides. On both sides. There's fault on both sides, and I don't, on a clear conscience, I cannot award this to anybody. See, on a clear conscience. Commissioner Baloy?
I heard here about the selection committee members, of how they graded this. Well, after being around the block a bit, I've been a commissioner 4 times, mayor twice, vice mayor twice when we had vice mayors, city manager, played street hockey in Chicago when I was a kid, and the real Mayor Daley was my mentor. So I guess you could say that I've been around the block, and no one's going to BS me. If I get to choose who the selection committee is going to be, you're damn right I'm going to get whoever I want to come out on top. And what I'm saying right out in plain English, that if this whole thing wasn't rigged from the first RFP, the second RFP, it's a hell of a good impersonation. The first RFP, one of their own attorneys right now, that's not here, after that RFP made the allegation before the 2 firms united for the second RFP that the director that we had that recently resigned on Dream had a conflict, that he hadn't reported like he should have. And that was that sometime before he became our director, not that much after, he had worked for one of the people involved in the bid process in this firm. It's the same director that stayed on for the second RFP. At the same time, one of the committee members, was not disclosed, had worked for one of the corporations, Coastal Systems, I believe, under Tim Blankenship, who was a consultant for RFP 1, RFP 2, for the gentleman that they're representing. And then within 5 months or so, after she graded the firms, she went to work for Edgewater Consulting, which is Suntech's development partner. So, if that doesn't pass the test of smelling bad, I don't know what does. And frankly, I don't need to go any further than that. That should be more than enough. Because the so-called expertise that I am told that was there, frankly, that's not the expertise that I would have chosen for a project like this. Last but not least, what Commissioner Russell stated is true. How can you, in good conscience, award to a firm that in the first RFP purposely did not disclose the, as I understand it, the biggest sewage spill in South Florida history that happened in 2000. Commissioner Reyes is also correct when he mentioned shoreline development that was convicted last year on January 9th of last year on a felony count for defrauding the U.S. Coast Guard. And then, in addition, we have Virginia Key LLC misrepresented that Aerodox technology and Cradle had been used in the port marina development. Now, you take all this, and even with the grades that this committee gave, they wouldn't have been on top if you would have taken these three issues into account. But of course, you're going to be told these are subcontractors, this is not the main one, this is that, that's the other. So, look, I don't want to go any further, but I'm more than prepared to slice this any way anybody wants it. This whole thing stinks. I wasn't around when it happened. I know how it stunk and how it began. But I just rather vote to reject this and not have to go any further. But if at any time in the future anybody wants to sue and would like to put any of us under deposition, I'll be happy then to answer some of the other things that I haven't talked about here.
I want to add to that, if I may. I have here the members of the voting members of the committee. And this is typical of the city, that we form a committee of people that most of them don't have no experience in the field. Not a single person here in this committee that ever run a marina. You see, and I'm saying this, Mr. City Manager, because I know that this is going to come back again, this and all the projects, that if we are going to ask for an RFP, it should be evaluated by experts in the field. Not by a person that was an advisory board member for Virginia Key. Right now I'm a chair of the Downtown Development Authority. If they ask me to be in this committee, I would tell them, what the hell do I know about marinas? You see? So there was Alice Robinson, she was a chair of the Downtown Development Authority. What I'm trying to say is that we have to be more professional. If we are going to ask for an RFP, which should be evaluating the participants, they should be evaluated by persons that are experts in the field. You see? And that's what I would like. And I sincerely, I think that we should vote on what Mr. Russell said. But I would like to add, and I don't want anybody to take this, because I want to move forward, and I want for the city to be free of doing whatever they want with that marina. I would like to add that it should be asked the city attorney to take all appropriate measures and actions to remove the holdover tenant and assume operation of the Virginia Key Marina as a City of Miami Marina. And that will free our hands to do whatever we want to do with it, bring it back to another RFP, or run it if we can run it. You see? And I hope that it keeps us out of court.
Any other comments?
Well, I have a question. A couple of them, actually. Our city attorney, I think she's there. I see her there on screen. The amendment that Commissioner Ray has added right now at the end, what's the net effect of that? In other words, can the city of Miami take over this marina today?
If that is a direction, yes. However, we really need to deal first with the RFP. If it's going to be awarded or all the bids are going to be thrown out, it should be a bifurcated process. It should be separate.
Excuse me, what you want to say that we'll do it on two steps?
If that is the will of the commission, it needs to be in two steps.
Let's separate it.
Well, I'm not done yet.
I'm sorry. You see, you paused for a long time. You were thinking.
I always try to think somewhat, you know. I understand bifurcating it. My question is, if we throw this out, does the winning bidder now is no longer in consideration and we vote that way? Do we, in effect, start the entire process all over again?
Yes, sir.
The commission needs to tell the administration and the city attorney's office what the commission wishes to do if you decide to reject all bids today and what the next step would be. So
it'll be, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, through you.
No, please.
So it would be a number of votes that we would have to take, right? First, to throw out what the manager is recommending, and then perhaps an expedited RFP process can occur. So I need to know a little bit, some clarification on how that would work, Mr. Manager, from you. Tell me what expedited means to you, because what I don't want is for our city to continue to wait. It's been almost 6 years, and we don't have a world-class marina.
We'll do it fast.
The city of Miami, I've only been here about a year now, but it's been 6 years. You've been here 2 years, 3 years, Commissioner Reyes, Commissioner Garroy, you made your comeback 3 years ago too. So way before we got here, this has been going on. And the city of Miami does not have a world-class marina still. We do have an incumbent, true. It's been there, I think, 38 years, what you said. But in those 38 years, there hasn't been any upgrade to this facility. Any significant upgrade of the kind of we're talking about, the city of Miami deserves a world-class marina. Now we're talking about, I think you said 113 million, which Mr. Priegas reminds me was the number of his district number when we met, 113 million. When we did that campaign back in 1998, Mr. Priegas, remember? But I haven't seen any upgrade. All I've seen is read from afar when I wasn't here, when I was in Tallahassee and other places, just watching that Miami has not built a world-class marina. Now you're coming to us and saying that you're committed to building a world-class marina. I could take you at your word, but we'd have to go, and Commissioner Carollo is saying that there's a tainted or rigged process, to use his words. I wasn't here. I've had conversations with both sides, all principals and lobbyists, and I still see that Miami is not moving any quicker towards a world-class marina. It's just a back and forth, accusation after accusation.
Yeah.
So I want to know what it means to our current city manager, what an expedited RFP process looks like. Give me your definition of expedited, and how quickly can we move, at least before I'm turned out in 7 years, when Miami can have a world-class marina.
Commissioner, if I may, so I'm a student of history, and obviously if you've looked at the history of this project in particular, and given the timeline and multiple iterations of RFPs, I think the earliest we could engage and get to finalization of an RFP process, given the nature of the appeals, how prolific they've been on both of the RFP processes to date, I think you're looking at 2 to 3 years at a minimum.
Wow.
Well, if I may say this through the chair,
Recognize.
we want to look for a world-class marina where we could create one. We don't have to look that far from the bay to Virginia Key, even to our downtown marina. All we got to do is just step out and look at the one here.
Yep.
This is the largest marina in Florida, one of the largest in the whole southeast part of the country. If you want to talk about a dump that nothing's really been done to it, it's right here.
Mm-hmm.
So if we want to have the private sector to do something, then maybe we ought to open this one up. We ought to open the one in downtown up so that we can have world-class marinas. But frankly, you know, I was here through many years, on and off, and you can't expect someone that's running anything to put in tens of millions of dollars if they don't have the time to be able to eventually get that money out. And that's been part of the problem that we've had there. Look at the dry dock marina next door. Now, I don't know what's happened there, but nobody seemed to care. No one was held accountable. That's been bringing in, if you compare it to what the marina right next door was bringing for their dry docks, he was bringing a fraction, a small fraction, of what this marina was bringing. What was the problem? It was all a joke, according to the former director. Family and friends, whatever. But the bottom line is that it's only been recently, when the pressure was felt, that they brought the revenue up, and still is way below what it should be. And that's the problem that I have with the city running marinas or many other things. Because the lack of accountability, the fact that some of us are here 4 years, 8 years, and we're out, the bureaucrats just, bury themselves in the sand, waiting for us to be gone, and the next guy to come, so they could BS the next elected official. And elected officials come and go, but the bureaucrats are still here, not giving a damn. And this is part of what's going on with the city of Miami in particular.
I think that we should, as the city attorney said, take care of the business the way it should be taken care of. We have a motion and a second. Let's take care of that. And then what we're going to do later on, I think that we can have an exchange among us and try to find common ground and on what we think is best.
What I would suggest is the manager sits with each of us and, find out from each of us individually
Yeah.
what we think, and then he could come back to the commission so that we could take the next step. But the only step that we really need to take today is the one whether to accept or reject. And the motion that we have is to reject.
So
You're recognized.
my question is this: I have difficulty voting for something just to kick something out without knowing what Plan B is and what we're going to do down the line. I didn't come here to kick the can. I came here to make decisions. And this constant deferral, and let's talk about it, and we'll figure it out later on. We sit down with the manager. I understand there's a process, but I think that all of us have had conversations with the manager in the last month or so. We've all know where the manager stands on this particular issue. He's recommending the winning bidder. We also, I suspect, based on the advice from my city attorney and other attorneys I've spoken to, that if we don't award to the winning bidder, they're probably going to sue us, and that they probably win. And that they probably win. Hold on. And I don't want another flagstone, Commissioner Russell. I don't want that mistake. I don't want to vote for something that is going to make my city liable, and it's going to cost, in these difficult economic times, my constituents millions of dollars. So before I vote, I want to ask our city attorney what her legal opinion is as to what happens if we reject the winning bidder through, as far as I know, even though Commissioner Carollo says that it was rigged, I take him at his word, maybe that's his opinion. I haven't heard that.
That's my opinion.
I know, but I haven't heard that it was rigged. I haven't seen any evidence of it being rigged. If there is, please let me know. But I want to see what our city attorney thinks as to the city's liability. If my vote's going to put my city, it's going to make my city liable for millions of dollars, I want to know if I'm doing that. Because otherwise I'll vote no.
Okay.
I don't want to, it doesn't matter what the result is at the end of the day. What matters is that I'm not going to be the one responsible for my city losing a lawsuit. I think
We have every right to reject any bid.
I want to hear
And
from my city
anybody has
attorney.
any right to sue and lose.
I want to hear from my city attorney
Yes.
what her legal opinion is.
Yes, I
That's
would
our
like,
liability.
I would like to hear, and I want you, Vicky, to make sure that we have, what options do we have in order to bring this back? Or how can we do it which can stay out of court? And I think the only way it is the way that I said.
Vicky?
Right, so you have the ability, obviously, to award or to reject all bids. Those are your options with regard to this process. You could figure out what you do later, after, but with respect to this award, it's either you award to number one or you reject all bids. If you are going to reject all bids, like Commissioner Diaz de la Portilla said, you need to give reasons for the rejection of all bids. One of the reasons, obviously, was the environmental issue that Russell felt uncomfortable about, and Commissioner Carollo's reasons for not trusting the committee.
Yeah,
But you do have to give
But
reasons if
there
you
were
decide
three
to reject all
reasons,
bids.
three direct reasons that three of us discussed up here. The environmental, the defrauding of the Coast Guard, and the misrepresentation of the Aerodox technology. Now, What I believe or not believe, well, that could be a reason, it still doesn't matter. We gave 3 sound reasons why we can reject this, and if they want to sue, let them sue. I know where the ducks are at. And I'm going to tell you now, the first thing I'm going to ask for is a special counsel, if they want to sue, that we, the commission, choose. And I'll be happy to sit down with that special counsel and give them my opinion where we should begin.
Senator?
Our city attorney said that we reject all bids, right? It's not a question of rejecting the winning bidder. There's a difference, right? There's a legal difference. Because
Correct.
right? If the selection committee recommends the winning bidder, obviously, and we just reject that one, it's a different legal situation than if we reject all bids and throw all bids out. And then the second part.
Right, it has to be reject all bids. It can't just be
Correct,
reject
correct.
number one.
All
All bids.
I think I said it in a kind of a convoluted way, but yes, that's what I mean. And then the second part of the equation is not wait till tomorrow and kick the can, is what do we do? We called a special meeting today to deal with this issue after almost 6 years. Do we instruct our manager to begin a new process? Well, I agree with Commissioner Reyes that the selection committee has to be people that know something about marinas. I agree with that 100%. So you have to be careful how you pick the selection committee, Mr. Manager. But what is the formula for moving the city forward, right? And so we can have a world-class marina. Let's have that conversation today, at least. So we have some direction, or give our city manager some direction as to how we're gonna get there eventually, right? And then number 3, why is it that every time we have a debate about important issues, it's always a deferral? It's always let's talk about it some other day?
There is no deferral here.
Well,
We're voting and rejecting.
It's a rejection of throwing out an RFP process that's been litigated, that's been going on for 6 years. It's in effect worse than a deferral. It's throwing out something that's taken 6 years and we're still where we started. So we're saying let's go back to the beginning from scratch. That scratch means 2 or 3 years according to our city manager. So we have at least 3 years to wait before.
The city manager doesn't know, he gave me.
Well, I asked him, he's our city manager, I know what he knows or doesn't know, but I know that he thinks that it's gonna take between 2 or 3 years. He could be wrong.
You should have told him 5 or 6, Art, so he could have felt better.
No, it's not a question of 5 or 6, it's been 5 or 6 already, Commissioner. It's been 5 or 6. Now we're adding an additional 3. So now it's gonna be 10. And then that's for the construction, for an RFP to be awarded, and then the construction. So you'll be gone, I'll be gone, and we still won't have a world-class marina. So to me, it doesn't matter who gets it, I just want the best entity to get it.
Well,
And so we have the best marina, I don't care who it is.
and the first step we need to take is to vote upon this, so I call the question, and then we can proceed to the next discussion that you like.
So I wanna.
It doesn't work that way, unfortunately, because we need to make sure that what we do here is legal, and that when we're sued.
It is legal.
Well,
The city attorney just stated it's
you
legal.
gotta throw everything out, you can't throw
Yes.
one bidder out.
That's right.
Right, so you throw everything out, you start from scratch. Yes.
Point of clarification, the senator is right. We have to, if we're gonna vote, we're gonna throw the whole thing out, and then we start from.
So if I might add before
Correct.
calling Mr. Vice Chairman?
I'll clarify the motion, please, because there seems to be
Okay.
several versions of it floating right now, and
You
I
can
want to make sure
clarify
we're
the
clear. My motion is to reject the manager's recommendation, not to throw out all bids, because I want this to be a further discussion right now, not tomorrow, not a month from now. As soon as if we vote affirmatively to reject the manager's recommendation, then I'd like us to have a substantive discussion right now of what to do next, whether it's take it back, whether it's see if there's, if the other,
Well,
right.
That's a different-
So
That's very
that
different.
that gives
But
us
section-
options to move immediately today, but at least we're getting definitive forward action with this particular bidder.
So section.
With the manager's recommendation.
Section 1886 doesn't give us that option. It
I
gives-
disagree.
Well, I'm just reading from what was provided. Section 1886 gives the city commission the option to approve the city manager's recommendation and negotiate contracts. They give us two, to approve the city manager's recommendation and authorize contract negotiations. 3, reject all proposals. 4, reject all proposals and instruct the city manager to reissue a solicitation. But it says all proposals. And then it says, or 5, reject all proposals and instruct the city manager to enter into competitive negotiations with at least 3 individuals or firms. And we don't have 3 firms here. And the second thing I'll add is that, I mean, to me, this feels like deja vu. Because many of the reasons that were stated today, and then maybe with some small amendments, are the reason that we threw the RFP out in the first place. This is pretty much the same groups, except you had a third place finisher that probably got involved with one of the companies. I'm not sure how they kind of merged, but there were 3 groups at that time. And the same arguments were being made to send it back, to reject all the proposals and issue a new competition. And so here we are back again with another recommendation from a manager, and the city commission has decided that it seems that the city commission is deciding that they don't want to award to this particular organization. And so you want to reject all of them again. And the only thing that makes sense to me is when you have this sort of situation is that when you continue to reject the person that is number 1, because they're number 1, the only time that you won't reject is if that person is not number 1. Maybe if another organization is number 1. And that was part of the concern that I had when this first came up. I said, look, I mean, if this is number 1, and this was scored number 1, we're going to issue the RFP for the same sort of competition, and then here we are back again with them being number 1. And so to me, it makes it may be more trouble for our city attorney, but certainly at least the business community would know what to expect when you say, hey, you don't apply because we're not going to award it to you, because that's what it appears to be. But that doesn't mean that there's any credence to any of the things that the commissioners stated on the record that they believe are issues with the RFP. But my only retort to that would be that we all knew what the RFP was when the RFP was issued. Who was going to participate, how it was going to be scored, and
I wasn't here then, Commissioner.
Mr. Chair.
I wasn't here.
I feel like I'm the old man on the thing. I forget, You guys remember, I forget. But all I know is that I've been here before with this same sort of thing. So that's my only issue with this. So, like the senator, I'm walking away from this saying, hey, if we knew this is where we wanted to be, meaning a rejection of all the recommendations, then we should have done this a long time ago instead of today. Mr. Vice Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Legal question, and I'd like to debate this with you, because you were citing 1886 C6B, which is about the evaluation and the criteria through which what the commission can do after receiving the manager's recommendation. It says the city commission may, and then it lists those 5 items that you just read. The next one under that is 1886 C7, which talks about the award, and it's very specific. Instead of saying may and listing an items, it says that the city commission shall. So award shall be made to the responsive and responsible proposer whose proposal is most advantageous to the city as determined by the city commission. And it doesn't, in that...
In conjunction,
I'm sorry,
continue
Madam City
reading.
Attorney, I'm sorry.
There's more.
In accordance with the evaluation criteria contained in the RFP, RFLA, RFQ. So the criteria contained in that RFP does not say we're limited to 1886 C6B.
It's
Our
codified
responsibility,
that way.
and I'd like to have this debate with the chairman because he's also an attorney. I am not, but this is the way I'm reading this here, that I believe that we have the power as a commission to award to the most responsive and responsible bidder, most advantageous to the city, that we deem. And I do not believe we are a rubber stamp here. I do not believe we have a ministerial role in this. I believe we are to study the whole process and weigh in whether we believe it went right or wrong. And that gives us a lot of strength and power to make that decision. I'm not going so far as to throw out all or to award to number 2 in this moment. The only motion on the floor right now is that we eliminate number 1 eliminate the manager's recommendation. We reject the manager's recommendation. At that point, if we get past that moment, then we discuss what we do from here. And that is the motion on the floor, and we're either together on that or not. I know it's not a consensus, But if there's a majority for that, then we decide what to do next, because we don't have consensus on what to do next. But I do want to know if we have consensus on this part, which is reject the manager's proposal. And I believe we do. I believe the will is here.
But, through the chair,
Yes.
I do believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, that our city attorney says that we should throw all the bids out. That will be the safest.
Right, that's the only, and I disagree, and unfortunately, the vice chairman and I have had this discussion, and I tried to explain it to him. That is not an option. To just reject number one is not an option, because responsibility review happens and responsiveness review happens before it even gets to the commission.
And that's where I
You
disagree.
have the power, the broad power to always reject all bids. And the reason why you're rejecting all bids is based on your decision. That is fine. But you can't just reject number one and move on. That is not an option.
Mr. Chair, I believe we can find non-responsible here. Despite what was deemed at the selection committee or the manager's level, responsibility is a subjective issue. And yes,
Right, but it's a reason to reject all bids. It is not a reason to.
I'm sorry, Madam City Attorney.
Carve out number one.
They admitted to the contamination. It is up to us to decide whether that deems them irresponsible to the level of contamination that was done or the level of the other issues that were brought up. We have that power as a commission to decide whether or not they're responsible. That's our job here today. And that's why I made the motion, because I do believe there is a majority of us here who do not find this bidder responsible.
I hear you. I know why you did it. And I agree that we shouldn't grant to number one, the first bidder. But I agree with the city attorney. You might not agree with it, but you're not an attorney. Although you like to be an attorney once in a while, but you act like one. But you're not, she is the one that it is recommending. And I wasn't here before she made certain recommendations, and this commission went above her, and it had cost us more than $20 million. And you were part of that too. And you had an argument with that at that time. So I really, I will vote in favor of throwing all the bids out and then directing after that the city manager to start a new process, and do it national or whatever, and take it from there. But I'm not going to do it piecemeal as you want, because it is not the advice that our city attorney is giving us. And I don't want to place, as the senator said, our city in a position that we will have to, we will be sued and we're going to lose a lot of money. If this is the safe way to do it, let's do it like that. And let's take it from there, and then let's start the process. It's not going to take 3 years. It's not taken 3 years and taken so long because we have gone into this back and forth. If we have a process that had been decided by real professionals, I commit myself to vote for a person that has been selected by that committee. You see?
Okay, well, as I see it, there are no 3 votes for the motion. The way is there, so.
Well,
I would suggest that the motion would be made in the way the city attorney is stating it, that we reject all bids.
Mr. Hannon has an issue over there.
You're recognized, Mr. Hannon.
There is a motion on the floor.
He has to withdraw it.
It hasn't been
It hasn't been withdrawn yet. We're
So-
discussing the motion.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Crowe, you're the seconder to the motion, so if you withdraw your second, then there's a new motion can be
I
made.
haven't done that yet.
Understood.
Mr. Clerk, we're discussing
Yes, sir.
the first motion. I don't feel there are the votes for the first motion. The city attorney, whether rightly or not, feels that the way that we have to do it is by rejecting all bids. And unless there are 3 votes for the motion that's before us now, then there's no sense in going forward with this motion if it doesn't have 3 votes. I do believe that the motion that rejects all bids will at least have 3 votes.
Where did we lose you, Commissioner Reyes? Because I felt synergy there for a while. Because when the motion was first made, I felt that we were in agreement. In further discussion, you changed your mind, or you misunderstood what my motion was. I'd like to know more about how you're feeling.
Okay. From the get-go, I thought that we should start all over again. Okay. And that was from the get-go. And after the city attorney, if that would have been the only road, I would have followed it. I would have followed it if that would have been the only option. But when the city attorney clarified that the safest way to get out of this mess and start all over was to reject the RFP, reject everything. You see, sometimes when you are very idealistic, I am, and you get kind of stubborn, but when you get to be my age, you try to get, you tend to be a little more cautious and look ahead. And I don't want to, just as the senator said and Commissioner Carrillo, I don't want to get our city in a bind.
Excuse me, if you're going to call him senator, then call me mayor.
No, Mr. Mayor. Well, to me, you are still mayor. You're still mayor. Okay, and that's why. I mean, and we had and we still have the synergy, but it is in a way that, as proposed by the city attorney, which is the safest way. That's why. Sorry.
So I'll make one last effort for my motion, and then obviously it'll either die for lack of second or I'll withdraw it myself. And I'll walk you through my thought process. I don't pretend to be a lawyer, but I am a commissioner. And I do believe in what the powers of the commission can do.
Don't take it personal, man.
No, I don't. But I do believe in what the powers of a commissioner are, and I believe I'm clear on them. Now, we can have a difference of opinion on the interpretation of this, but here's what I feel could and should happen. Both of these bidders were found to be responsive and responsible. And then within the scoring system, the committee and the manager agreed that one was higher scored within that responsive and responsibility than the other. If we throw out one for responsibility, the other one still remains a responsive and responsible bidder. But we as a commission have let the manager know that we believe, we've analyzed the scoring, we've seen his recommendation, we do not believe that that winning bidder was responsible. We can direct him, in my opinion, to then go back and analyze the number 2 bidder in a separate motion to see whether he still believes they are responsive and responsible. And if so, he can make a recommendation then. Now, he doesn't have to accept the scores of the committee either. He can analyze them himself and make his recommendation to us. But we are giving him feedback now through this motion, but I understand. The safest would be to throw out all because then nobody can sue us, because we definitely have that right. I get that.
And also, sir, I'm going to add to it. I did state it that the selection committee, in my opinion, didn't have any expertise in this field.
Right, so there were issues there.
And why are we going to select one or the other one? And we are questioning the way that they evaluated this. I mean, if it was wrong for one, was wrong for the other one. It could be wrong. I mean, I don't know. I want a professional selection committee that really is expert. They are experts in the field, because this is a major development. And I don't want to go wrong. You see, I don't want to go wrong, and that's another.
Just to finish my thought, Commissioner Reyes, and thank you for that, but I would like to not go through another full process. If we have responsive and responsible bidders here, but we as a commission deem one to not be responsible, I'd like to hear from the manager on who is left within the bidding, rather than starting all over again. Because as many of us have said up here, we'd like to see something happen here within our tenure or lifetime.
Yes,
And I believe that we are legally sound in this option as commissioners. Because remember the precedent this sets on all other procurement issues. You're saying we only have the right to say up or down, that we don't have the right to choose the winning bidder. Although I believe in 1886 C7, we do have that right to choose the winning bidder that we believe is most advantageous to the city. And I think that's something a right we want to preserve as commissioners. Now, I disagree with the city attorney. I respect her opinion, but I do disagree with it, and I do read it differently. I read it differently.
One of the things that we could do, we could get ourselves an outside counsel and go to the courts for a declaratory
Get a
judgment.
deck action.
Yeah. Let the courts tell us what we could do or not do.
well, I think, with all due respect, Commissioner, I think we should make a decision today. Make a decision today. I personally, I am going to follow my vote's going to follow the suggestion of the city attorney. And that's it. I mean.
So you would not vote with my motion?
Huh?
You would not vote with my motion?
No, I would not.
Got it. Because even still, after that, we could also reject the second one if we wanted to as well.
No,
That's
but
doable.
why? Let's do it from the get-go.
All right, so
You see?
in that case, I'll withdraw my motion.
And I will do my second. So I will make a motion that we reject all bids, all proposals.
I'll second that.
Been properly moved and second to reject all proposals. Any further
For
discussion?
all the reasons that you had stated, Commissioner
course.
Carollo?
Of course.
Obvious
Is there
reasons
any-
that we have
The
stated.
three main reasons that I went over, do you need for me to go through them again?
No.
No, I just wanted
All
to
right,
clarify.
I'll be happy to.
Thank you.
Well,
Any
I'll
further
withdraw,
discussion?
I'm going to withdraw my second because I'm not going to put into a motion accusations that one side makes against another side.
Okay, so there's a motion, is there a second?
The reason why Commissioner Carollo.
What is that that you said?
Well, there are accusations that are, I've been listening to the back and forth between both sides. So I'm okay with the motion and voting with you to reject all proposals, but not because the three reasons that you said publicly that one side was doing, because I don't know if that's true or not.
Well,
And
look,
so-
you could vote any way you want to. The
I
city
understand that, but I'm
attorney
just saying,
that
I don't want my city to be held liable, that's all. So
You've been telling us up to now that, we got to listen to the city attorney in this. That's what I'm doing. She says that we had to put on the record reasons why we're voting for it. Now, my motion is not based on anything that I stated here or anybody else has stated. My motion is to reject,
Okay,
and in conversation with the city attorney, I asked her it was sufficient, the point 1, 2, or 3 that I placed on the record why I'm voting the way that I am, and if she needed for me to repeat them again, she said no. So it's a simple motion to reject all proposals.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by by Commissioner Reyes. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All against?
No.
Again.
Motion passes 4-1 with Commissioner Russell, my apologies. Motion passes 3-2 with Commissioner Hardeman and Commissioner Russell voting no.
So I would assume that would capture SP1, SP2, that would be the rejection, right? So that's the
Well, Madam City Attorney, you tell us what else we got to vote on.
So on SP2, where it says accept recommendation, that would be, the way it's written on the agenda.
SP3
That'd be
is
F.
null and void, correct?
And SP3,
Chair,
yes.
so SB2 passed as amended, rejecting all bids. SP3, if I could get a motion to withdraw.
Motion to withdraw SP3.
Seconded by the chair. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All against? The motion carries. Okay. Seeing no further issues on this special commission meeting, this meeting,
well, Mr. Chair, are we done then?
we're done with the business.
I thought Commissioner Russell had talked about
Oh.
some direction to our city manager on a moving forward basis, or are we just gonna kick the can again?
No, we're not
let's-
kicking the
let's-
can.
let's Do that.
I've stated on the record that the city manager should meet with each of us, and he could discuss it either at the next meeting if he's had the time, or if not, the one after that. And then we could go from there.
Well, that meeting is fine, but I would like to be more specific and direct the city manager to start procedures into selecting a company that could develop the way that we want that area.
Like a request for a new RFP? or
An RFP. Request for an RFP,
I'm not ready for that.
okay?
I'd like to sit with manager and discuss options.
Okay, but that will be my recommendation and my request when he sits with me. You see, I am very transparent. Everybody knows where I stand. And I'm letting him know what I want to do.
If I may, Mr. Chair?
Please.
I'll meet with each of you individually. Keep in mind that there's some decisions to be made relative to District 5, and that seat may not have a resolution in the foreseeable future, so there'll be one commissioner I probably may or may not have the opportunity to brief in the next month or so. So just be mindful of that. I'll meet with each of you individually, but that
Absolutely.
particular seat is sort of, at this point, undecided, so.
Absolutely, okay?
Commissioner Hardeman, it's been an honor.
Yes, sir.
Congratulations. To the upper body.
I'll definitely call it, right?
Don't forget us, here the lower body.
That's where all the disease happen in the upper body.
Good luck to you. If you don't like the food over there, feel free to come over.
That's right.
We have sushi every Thursday, sir, for you.
I promise you I'm going to be down here.
Good luck to you, sir.
Just to see everyone. But
Listen,
no,
once again, thank you very much for all of your support. I came here very, very green. I didn't bring the experience that Mayor Carollo or the senator had. And you guided me well. And you guided me. And I also had some help from when Commissioner Russell, when he was when he was sharing, although he tried to cut me off all the time.
yeah, it's an art, not a science.
But thank you, and good luck.
No,
Good luck to you.
I appreciate it. You know, actually, the fact that the governor didn't extend the virtual meetings gave me an opportunity to sit here with you guys. So it really does mean something to me to be able to sit here for the last meeting and say my farewell to you all. So I'll be back. I won't be a stranger. Absolutely. But good seeing you all. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my last time doing this. This meeting is adjourned.